Okay, I'm not in Pasadena. We recorded this video in Stella's guardian's home, but for some reason it recorded in slow-mo. I think I probably put the wrong setting on, and it's like an hour and a half of slow motion, and that's not going to work. So this is Stella's roadmap to success. I have some notes because it's about a week after the session. So a couple things to remember and go over is remember, anytime she's fearful, don't pet her. Anything your dog's doing when you specifically pet it is what you're specifically rewarding, and you can make a more anxious dog or an anxious dog more anxious by petting it. Same thing with fear, stress, anxiety, excitement. Now, we'd love to have excitement from Stella, so if she gets excited, you can go ahead and pet her for that. But normally, I would recommend not. Now, when she is nervous, what you can do is you can lay your hands on her and let her know I'm here with you. Hey, knuckleheads, we're doing a video. All right, so I'm in my backyard, so we got my dogs deciding to do their business. So you can lay your hands on her to let her know you're here with her, and just keep your hand on the pet. All right, let's see. I'd like to get you to do the petting with a purpose. Remember, petting with a purpose is you're going to ask her to sit or do something first before you pet her. Now, Stella is different than most dogs. Most dogs come up and nudge you and paw at you for attention. Stella really doesn't do that. Hey! And so what we want to do instead is, whenever possible, try to get her to sit and then pet her for sitting. Remember, try to pet her under her chin whenever possible. Try to avoid patting on top of her head. And if you use this sort of hand motion, I'll show you with one of my dogs, you can get her, a lot of dogs will rock back into sit. Callie. So it looks like I have some in my hand. Callie. Callie. And so you kind of go in an arc over the head. Quest. Hey. You're supposed to do this on camera. Well, he's not paying attention. But basically, you just rock it, but hold your fingers up. That's all right. Use the gimbal. The big joystick. Nope, don't touch that. It'll freak out. There you go. There you go.
There we
go.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so we have Becca, who's our camera woman today. All right, so basically you're going to keep your hands curled when you're doing this, so the dog can't see that you don't have a treat, and you should actually have a treat in your hand. Most of the time you do it for Stella, make sure you do. And so you can rock her back into a sit. When she sits, reach down underneath, tickle her under her chin, and say sit. Remember to say just the command word. Don't say good girl, just say sit. Good girl sit, just say sit. The more words we use, the harder to understand. So try to be consolidating of your dog commands. A lot of people use various versions. Come here, come here, over here, here boy, here. And the dog has to listen for all these extra words. It's much easier if we always say here or come. All right, let me see. Remember, we would like to, because Stella really, dogs process things by moving forward. We'd like, well, before we do that, make sure you also emphasize passive training. Passive training is any time that Stella voluntarily does something that you want, I want you to recognize it and mark it. So if she takes a drink of water, say the word agua, or water, or the African tribes word for water. And so the idea is we sort of associate. So every time I drink water, I hear the word agua. After a while, I can say agua and the dog knows what I mean. So every time Stella comes to you, and I know she doesn't do it a lot, but if she does, pet her and say the word come. Every time she sits, pet her and say sit. And if she's going to her dog bed, come up with a funny name for the dog bed, which I think we talked about, and just say the word every time she goes and sits there. Remember, you have 3 seconds to correct or reward a dog for them to make the connection. So every time she does it, try to be Johnny on the spot in terms of saying Hawaii or whatever the name of the dog bed is. I forgot what we came up with. And that's passive training. The more you get in a habit of petting with a purpose of passive training, you're kind of rewarding the dog for desired actions and behaviors. You're helping the dog to establish a vocabulary. And we want her to start being able to offer you these behaviors on command. Not only does it help with just general having a dog, but also it helps boost her self-esteem if she feels like she's earning the affection as opposed to just being given the affection for no reason. All right, we'd also like to enlist some, if you remember we talked about enlisting some guest dog walkers. So I would just find some dog walkers, go to like WAGs or whatever it is, or look in your neighborhood, see if you can find some people. We met somebody on the walk who'd be great. We'd like somebody who, variety, we'd like to get about 4 to 8 dog walkers who can come by maybe they're coming by once a week. So each dog walker comes by once a week, and maybe we have 4 dog walkers over the course of the week. I want a lot of variety. Dogs process things by moving forward. If we get guest dog walkers, that helps her start to learn other people are also associated with something that she does like, and it doesn't cause her to shut down. All right, so at first when you do the dog walker, I would go on the walk with the dog walker your first time. Even even though you're paying them for doing it, we want Stella to feel comfortable. Halfway through the walk, try to hand the leash to the dog walker and then complete the walk together. And go on the path that you normally go on for the dog walker so they know what you do normally. But we'd like each guest dog walker to come by anywhere from 4 to 8 times. And I know it's an expense, but I think it will really help her being able to have different handlers and tell the handlers, don't try to talk to her, don't try to pet her, don't give her a good girl or all that stuff. We're just walking together. So a lot of dog walkers like to give a lot of encouragement, like to pet dogs. Make sure you let them know. And the guardian here does a really good job of communicating, advocating for her dog. But make sure you do that with the dog walkers. Sometimes you work with professionals, you think they'll know. They'll know if you tell them. All right. Now, one of the things I noticed when I did a solo walk with her is when she was sniffing urine of another dog, her tail dropped. And almost like went phallically underneath, and that's an indication of insecurity. So what we'd like to do, if you can arrange it, is to have some warm Chipotle chicken. It doesn't have to be from Chipotle, but I find that there's the spice and the temperature, remember, is more important than the taste. So we want something that's got a little aroma, it's got some flavor. So as soon as she starts sniffing, watch her tail. As soon as you see it go down, or really as soon as she starts sniffing, you maybe just pop her a treat, let her sniff for 1 or 2 seconds, and give her that warm Chipotle chicken. So we want to create a positive association. I'm thinking that she's fearful of other dogs, and so she smells them and she starts losing confidence, and that's why the tail's going down. I have had people ask if you can raise the tail. You can do it for some dogs. I have some dogs that I'll do it like a snake charmer. You don't want to hold it or pull it up, but sometimes if you just brush underneath it, that'll cause it to raise up a little bit. I don't know if that'll work for Stella or not, but you might want to try it. But the idea is we just like to see her tail going up automatically just because we're staying without covering her anus because she feels comfortable and confident. Hey! And we love to get her to play like this. We'll get there. Let me see. Also, walking with other dogs when available. So if you're in your neighborhood and you see somebody their dog is walking next to their handler, the energy seems calm, they're not boisterous, those would be great people to walk with if you can. Try to befriend people in your neighborhood. Hey, my dog's really fearful about all the other dogs and people. Would you mind if we just walk with you? And if she's kind of skittish, walk in the street and let them have the sidewalk. I know it's a little bit dangerous, but your neighborhood's the neighborhood in Pasadena, your urine is not too bad. You're in, not urine. And try to find some people and ask them if they walk on a regular basis. Most people do walk their dogs on a schedule. California. And so we want them to get in a habit. And so she kind of looks forward. Every day at 5 o'clock, we walk with Puffy, and then we walk with California on, at 7 o'clock or whatever, on certain days. But if you can kind of get in a routine, at first you're gonna be walking as far enough away where she's not sketchy and her tail's not dropping, she's not all twitchy. But eventually as we're walking, we want to kind of have a triangular shape, so we're gonna get closer and closer. Make sure the humans are on the inside, the dog's on the outside. Don't let their dog come and sniff Stella or any of that stuff. We just want them to walk together and build up her confidence that every time I need another dog, doesn't mean they're gonna come and sniff me. Whoever gets sniffed first is more subordinate, and so it's because Stella's so shut down, she's probably gonna not sniff them, and then she's kind of absorbing the subordinate position. It's not a bad thing, but I'd rather just have her experience. I think for overall, what we want Stella to do is learn to be around people and dogs where they don't interact with her at all, because any interaction I think is going to cause her to be fearful. We want her just to learn trust by being with them and nothing bad happened, and they didn't do anything more than what I was able to give. All right, again, calm dogs. And increase the distance. If you run into animated dogs or dogs that are really barky or whatever, just turn around and walk away. You can do the focus exercise, but right now we haven't even taught Stella this focus exercise. So right now the best thing you want to do is just move away. Walk into the street around a car if it's safe to do so, but you want to block that dog's sight of Stella and vice versa. And you might also want to get a training leash. They're blue and they usually stitching on the leash that says dog in training. Usually people see that and you just say, sorry, we're in training. If it's a dog that is boisterous and they want to come and say hello, we're in training, and they'll just usually walk right on by. All right, increase the distance. The parallel walks are going to be great. If you ever do find a puppy, puppies give off a pheromone until they're about 3 months or so. Actually, it's a little bit less than that. And so if you can find a puppy, a really young puppy, most people, you won't see them walking, but if you see somebody with a puppy, ask them, hey, any chance we can hang out? Puppies give off this pheromone. Adult dogs can smell it, and it helps them kind of know the puppy has a different, different rules. We're going to let the puppy get away with more, which is great, but that pheromone might bring out a little bit of motherly vibe out of Stella, and also puppy energy and playfulness is really helpful, and they're so small that they're not perceived to be a threat. So if you can find a puppy, you might actually want to talk I don't know any in Pasadena, but you might want to see if you could find a puppy class and see is it possible for me to bring my dog in? Here's all the shots and all the rest of that stuff. A lot of puppy classes, the classes we do, we let them play together, and that would be wonderful. Even if she just stays off the side and just observes them, the small nature of the puppies and their playful, they don't really care about anything, energy, I think it would be helpful. So if you can find that, try to hook that up, especially if you find somebody in your neighborhood. Hey, a chance we could do a play date at your house, in your living room, even just hanging out, that would really be beneficial. We call it habituation when you put a unbalanced dog with confident, balanced dogs, and it can kind of rub off on them. But for her, since she's afraid of adults, I think puppies would be the best analog for that. All right, for guests, we'd like to have some guests come by, and we want to help her practice being around guests. Now, when we're doing this, we'd like to have the guests text you before they get there, so you're going to meet them outside. So the guest is already waiting there, you put her on the leash, go outside. Have one of those treat pouches like I showed you, and with the high-value training treats, I don't think she'll take them from guests the first time. But we want to give them an opportunity to do that. Remember, whenever the guests are engaging with her, they need to be sideways to her, and preferably lower. The lower you are, the less authoritative. But this is very confrontational. It's a very strong posture. Farley's trying to come out. All right, so what I'd like you to do is when you meet outside is go for a walk together. Now the first walk, just make it kind of similar to the walk that we went on, a couple blocks. And then when you're doing this, if you feel comfortable, hand the leash to the person about halfway through the walk. And we'd like her to just kind of be associated with you guys walking together. Basically stop whenever you come across like a stoop or a rock or someplace that you can sit down safely. Dogs, when you sit, you're kind of more, you're going to be there for a minute. So we'd like to 3 or 4 times on the walk, kind of, I'm going to have you walk backwards. Don't walk into the chair, but I'll let Farley out. So if you walk that way and then walk backwards, I'm going to let my elderly dog out. He's going to whine at the door, and he had a spinal stroke, so his back legs don't work very well. He doesn't stand very well. All right, Farles, come on out, buddy. He's 14, so we look out for him as much as we can. So, all right, so basically, but periodically throughout the walk, if you can stop, sit down. Hopefully she'll come over and sit down with you. If she doesn't, that's okay. But when you sit, it's just kind of, you're less authoritative, and it kind of might give her a chance to kind of reset and get her bearings a little bit. So look for 3 or 4 opportunities to do that. And when you are sitting, if she comes and shows any interest, hold the treat out to your side, let her lick it off. And then, let me see. And if she won't take it from you, try dropping on the ground. If she's really distracted looking around, she's probably not going to pay attention. You can skip the treats. That's the first walk. Then what we'd like to do is the next walk. We'd like to have the same person. Hey, we'd like to have the second person come. The person come back a second. Then California, enough. Probably should have left the dogs inside. All right, so basically for the second walk, we like to do the same thing, but if you didn't pass the leash halfway through your first walk, halfway through the first, or whenever it feels appropriate, just hand the leash to the person. We want to do it so subtly she doesn't realize, California, that that the other person is holding the leash. Halfway through the walk, then you want to basically kind of start having some distance. So having the guardian walk ahead and the handler with Stella is walking behind, and gradually kind of get a little bit more and more distance. So you're kind of using the guardian as kind of a carrot to get her to follow, but we're helping her experience being with a different handler separately. And then we get back inside, and then we can go inside after that. When they sit down, the guest should go and sit down next to her dog bed on the floor. Make sure, again, it's sideways to her. And I'd like you to have some of those bully sticks or bully bites. So the first thing we want to do is give a couple of these high-value treats or warm up some chicken, and then basically give them to guests. And every once in a while, just kind of toss one into her dog bed. But the guest should not be looking at her, should not be trying to talk to her or pet her or any interaction. We just want to be, again, develop that trust by sitting next to me and not doing anything wrong. Keep the visits relatively short once you're inside, but we want to proceed the visit with being outside. All right, and are we still recording? All right. All right, so, and then the third walk, if we can get guests to come by a third time, then what we'd like to do is have you like a quarter of the walk some way through, you're gonna hand them the leash, then they're gonna walk really slow, and you're either gonna go a different route like you did when we walked together, or you're gonna power walking it way in front of them to the point where they're by themselves. And by the third walk, I'm hoping that they're comfortable. And if you combine this with having her get comfortable with guest walkers, she should get more and more practice of this. And that's going to develop, the experience is going to help her develop more confidence. And then from that confidence, she's going to be less skittish, tail won't go down quite so much. And again, that confidence is going to be really beneficial. So when she runs into other people and other dogs, she doesn't kind of melt like she does now. And then again, stop whenever possible and drop those treats or offer to the side. And then again, no touching, talking, or eye contact when you're back at your place. All right, so those are the walks. We also would like you to, I'd like you to remember to move that dog bed around. So if you move it really far and she won't, it kind of freaks her out, you can move it progressively, but since that's her safe zone, I think moving it around is going to give her different perspectives. I think wherever you put it, she's going to be happy to go to. So remember, we talked about getting a kennel. I think for her, having something uncovered that she can hang out underneath is going to be really beneficial. Get a wire kennel. Make sure it's plenty big enough for her to stand up fully and lay down completely without having to curl up. And I would put it on one side of your couch for like a couple weeks, and then arrange to have, when you have a dog walker coming, move on the other side of the couch. And so moving them back and forth between your couch, that gives her that safe place. Get one of those covers. Just look on Amazon. There's a cover that'll fit. Once you measure your kennel, should fit right on top, right over it. And then make sure the door is wired shut so she can always go in. It doesn't ever close or spook her by popping shut. And then what do you call it? You can leave treats and bully sticks in there as well. But I think she's going to probably start hanging out in there a lot more. Now, if she hangs out there more than in the dog bed, then we would want to go ahead and close that door from time to time and cause her to go to the dog bed. We want to give her a reprieve, but we don't want her to run away too much, because that would be debilitating. So, but I think it would be helpful for her at times to have a covered place to go under. And remember to, when you're done moving the dog bed, under the shelf to the left of the TV would be a great place to do that once you clear that stuff out. Maybe that would be a place you do that, see how she does there, if she likes that, before you get a kennel. And for the kennel, remember, you can always get a piece of wood or glass or put it on top, and you can use it as like kind of a nightstand. Just be careful what you put on there, so if she does rock around in the kennel, I don't think she's going to, but we don't want everything fall and crash and have her get spooked. All right, for the new, take your current dog bed to work. You get a new dog bed. I prefer to get the ones on Groupon. Make sure it's a solid color, no pattern. The colors I like are light gray, light cream, or a white. Their eyes are not very good for detail or for color, but they're great for movement. And the contrast of a treat or a bully stick on a white or light gray or light beige, she'll be able to see it quickly. Let me see. Feeding tips. Remember, the temperature is more important than the taste. We want to get a very strong aroma. I like chicken liver, and because of her, what we might want to do is actually get a little chicken broth or beef broth. And so we, a little trick is to get a tray, an ice cream tray, ice cube tray, do the broth, and maybe do kind of 2 or 3 of those, so it's pretty strong, and then pour it into the ice cream tray or ice cube tray and put it in your freezer. That way, for each meal, you can pop one of those out, microwave it, and put it in with your food. That should help warm it up and provide a little bit more aroma and a little bit more flavor, and get her a little bit more interesting in wanting to eat her food. And now, when she walks away from her food, make sure you pick up and dump any remaining food out, and make sure the empty bowl's on the floor. I want her to recognize and see the bowls empty, there's food there. And so that makes it a little bit more valuable. When she does eat her food, come up with it, use passive training, come up with a command word for that. So I say grub, chow, feast. Little one there, his word is lasagna. And coming up with those fun command words, I think are really going to help, especially in your situation, because he's fearful, she's fearful, you feel bad about what's going on. It just kind of brings, it's a heavy energy. So if you come up with some funny command words that relate to your international travels or anything else that's going to resonate with your friends, that's going to help brighten the mood, and I think that'll be really beneficial. Remember, also chew items. Remember, we want to get some flavored Nyla bones. We want to get a water buffalo horn. Now, the water buffalo horn, make sure it's solid or it's not just really thin, because she will snap and splinter. If she's doing that, then it's probably too thin. But it'll smell funky for a week or two, but then after that, she should get better at it. It should not smell so funky for you. Marrow bones, very, very high value. Make sure she gets them early in the day. Sometimes you get them late in the day, they get diarrhea when they sleep. Get about a 1-inch, half-inch, or 1-inch, 2-inch marrow bones maximum. And once she's going through it, if she loses interest in it, sometimes they get the marrow out and it becomes concave and there's some in the middle she can't reach. Take a pencil or something and push it out. Let her get all that out. But that's a really high value item. That would be a great thing for the guest to give her when they come home. You'll get them in like a 6-pack or something. Keep them in your freezer. Take one out, leave it in your sink while they go on a walk, or when you come back, put it, and then give that to the guest after she goes to her dog bed. They go over there, hand her this marrow bone. Jesus, these people come over, they take me for a walk, they're dropping treats on the walk, they give me Chipotle chicken, then we come home and they give me a bully stick or a marrow bone. I had people wrong. They're actually here for me and not to be afraid of. Let me see. And then high value chews with guests would basically be the marrow bone, bully sticks, things along those lines. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's probably a lot of else that we went over, but these are the notes I came up with as soon as I realized that we have an hour and a half slow motion video. Now remember, if you have questions, please call me or text me. There's a lot of other things that we cover. There's a lot of lessons and things that we can do once she's starting to feel a little bit more confident. We need to get her engaging. But dogs, the more commands or tricks they know, the more confidence they have, and the more confident a dog is, the less stressful they are. Her fear is really coming from stress and insecurity. So the more skills you instill gives her ability to redirect. You have the ability to redirect her, but also gives that boost of self-esteem and will deepen the relationship because you're involved with her learning a new skill. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. If there isn't, or if there's something new, please call or text me. If I don't hear from you, I'm assuming that means everything's going great and Stella's fully recovered and she can do things. So there's a lot. I have thousands of videos I can share with you in text messages or email to you, teaching her how to focus and all the rest of these things. But you might want to go to YouTube or just Google what are the easiest dog tricks or commands. Easy ones and when she's in the mood, that's the time to do it. Don't try to do it when she's not in the mood. And the last thing is scent games. Dogs' nose controls 60% of their brain, and they can't multitask. So one of the things you might want to do is get that really high-value chicken or something really stinky and like put her in your bedroom and then hide it in a couple places in your living room. Don't hide it too hard, just she goes around the corner, it's right there. But if she's going and using her nose and finding good positive things, that will boost her self-esteem and confidence as well. It'll also get her moving around your apartment. We'd like to have her not just sitting in the dog bed all day. So every time you go for maybe a break, if you can, move the dog bed to a different place. And you might even have 2 dog beds and see if she can alternate. And that's kind of the reason I was going for the kennel. So I was hoping to give her a kennel and a dog bed. But make sure, like I said, she's not just isolating herself in the kennel. That's not going to be healthy either. All right, normally I would say this is Stella, but Stella is 1,500 miles away. I'm in Nebraska right now. And this is Stella's roadmap to success. Remember, everything that you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.